So, to start with, our keynote speaker this morning. Our first keynote speaker had a successful 14-year stint with Citibank, including managing partner for global finance and as country executive for investment banking, which he started to lead the UnionBank of the Philippines in 1993 at the age of 36. But that is just a preview for this morning. Okay, that is just to tell you that we have had a powerhouse speaker for today. So, before we listen to our speaker this morning, as we always do, we will now hear the welcome remarks of our President and CEO for the Manila Times to formally welcome and open this forum. Ladies and gentlemen, our President and CEO, Mr. Dante Clink-Ang II.
Good morning. For a while, hello. Good morning. For a while, I thought I was going to get a free pass, but Your Excellencies, former Secretary Gregory Domingo, our first keynote speaker today, Dr. Justo Ortiz, Chairman of the Board of UnionBank, and other speakers who are here but will be properly introduced later. Delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Manila Times, welcome to today's forum, Digital Transformation and Innovation. For the large part, many in this country sound off-key whenever they discuss entrepreneurship. Again, in general, some of the keywords or phrases tend to be missing from the public discourse, such as innovation, disruption, transformation, or even creative destruction. Of course, whenever anyone talks about transformation and disruption, one cannot avoid to also mention the word digital. As many of you know, we in the media know firsthand about disruption that is occurring in today's digital age. But to say that our situation is bleak would be one-dimensional. With creative destruction also come new opportunities. The same may be said for the situation that media companies find themselves in. So even as we face serious threats of substitution, for instance, millions more read the Manila Times on its various digital platforms, namely our website and social media accounts. The problem that we face is monetization. Our analysis leads us to conclude that what we need is a new business model that would allow us to monetize the millions more readers who access the Manila Times online. We thought about this topic for today's forum because our industry is not the only one grappling with such transformational, if not challenging, issues. And so part of our evolving business purpose, as we have mentioned in previous fora, is to deliver quality information to our audience to help them make sense of the world. That is what we have done here today. We have invited several speakers, experts on digital transformation and innovation, both in the private sector and government. We have assembled top executives of the most innovative firms in the Philippines here. In short, we have brought the source here so that you may hear directly from them. Through these events and further coverage of such experts, we hope to influence public discourse and public policy discussions so that they are more in tune and hopefully more relevant in realizing our collective aspiration of national development and progress in general. Today, we look forward to hearing about these trends and best practices, as well as new policy directives and valuable economic insights from companies such as IBM Philippines, Microsoft, Facebook, Oppo, UnionBank, and many others. So let me get out of the way and conclude these remarks by expressing our appreciation to all those who helped us make this forum possible. MegaWorld, Oppo, PLDT Smart, and San Miguel Corporation. We also wish to thank our sponsors, Casialo, GCash, Infiniban, and Double Dragon, as well as our special partners, Banco de Oro, BioEssence, Banco de Philippine Islands, Chelsea, Federal Mundo Medical Center, FWD Life Insurance, Ibarra Heritage, MX3, New San Jose Builders Incorporated, PAGCOR, Pag-ibig Fund, SM Investment Corporation, SoSure, UNES, Universal Robina Corporation, Vine Holistic Medical, and Aesthetics. We are grateful to our venue partner, Conrad Manila. We're always pleased to be here. our media partners also, ANC and Win Radio. Last but not least, let me thank all of you delegates for making time today. Wasn't easy to come here with today's weather. We hope that you will have a productive day, and the discussion here will help you reimagine your respective industries and enterprises and help you formulate strategies in today's age and offer valuable insights for transformation and innovation. Again, welcome and good morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Dante Klink ang II. Okay, our keynote speaker this morning has steered the Union Bank of the Philippines in 1993 at the tender young age of 36 years old. He steered Union Bank from its 23rd rank to where it is now at number 7 in terms of assets, number 5 in terms of profit, and number 1 in terms of return on equity. Our keynote speaker championed Union Bank's digital shift from traditional banking platforms through constant innovation and digitization, paving the way for the emergence of the country's first bank website, online banking, and electronic savings account. Exceeding his prediction that Union Bank would be at the forefront of technology-based banking in the Philippines, the bank has become the country's best digital bank, receiving the Asia Money and the Asset Magazine's AAA awards for the delivery of its online, real-time, and highly secured business solutions to its customers. For his extraordinary achievements in nation building, in education, values formation, and youth development, he was also vested in 2015 with a Director of Humanities honoris causa by the University of Santo Tomas. Ladies and gentlemen, our first guest speaker, or our keynote speaker for this morning, not only chairs the Union Bank of the Philippines, but also assumes other leading roles in the business community. He serves as chairman of the newly launched Blockchain Association of the Philippines. You have a long list, sir. So, as co-founder and chairman of TechUp Pilipinas, the chairman of the Philippine Payments Management Inc., and most recently as member of the Board of Governors of the Management Association of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Justo Ortiz.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to have to do in 30 minutes what I usually take. Does this work? Yes. Okay. A little. Can we go back? Here. Okay. What usually takes me 2 hours, but let me start with the idea of a statistic before I go into concepts, which is one of the big consultancy firms came out with this study that after studying 35,000 publicly listed companies and came out with the statistic that the average life of a company today would be 35 years. And that's going to go down to 12 years by 2027. And why do companies succeed? 3 things. They have a purpose, they innovate, obviously. And the third one, which is the most difficult, is they reinvent themselves. Why don't they succeed is usually hubris. Most transformations or reinventions occur when you're in a crisis. But to do preemptive transformation, when you're at the top of the game, when you're outperforming the market, when you're the biggest and the best, is always a challenge. And that's where the hubris comes from. And it requires a belief in the fact that as we move into this 4th industrial age, unlike being in the 3rd industrial age, which started in the 1870s, there's going to be a discontinuity. And most of us, we believe that the future comes from the present, and we plan accordingly. But what if the present comes from the future? And then we ask ourselves, so what is in the future? And we need to change our planning model into scenario planning, and I take a quote from Steve Jobs, because if it came from me, it would have no credibility, but from Steve Jobs, and he said something that I paraphrase, which is, if you want to know what's going to happen 5 years from now, don't look at the mainstream. Look at the fringes. And so this is the question that we need to go through. So what do I see? What have we seen in UnionBank when we started this journey? What sort of ideas in the fringes? Well, one is the collaborative commons. The idea of the first unit of economic system when humans went from being nomads to villages. But it did not have scale. Since then, we invented feudalism, mercantilism, socialism, communism, capitalism. But we're going back to this because the enabling technologies today allow the collaborative commons at scale. What are the examples of this? Well, bad example would be a condominium corporation or a club, which leads to the theory of the tragedy of the commons. But good examples would be open source code. Uber, Grab, Facebook, Alibaba. These are all examples of the collaborative commons working today at scale. So what are the implications of this for our business, right? So, okay, if we're going to imagine this future by looking at the fringes, what's one possible model? Well, one possible model is an asset-light, capital-light bank, where we become the trusted curator for our customers, connecting them to platforms, to marketplaces, to financial apps, giving them the development tools so that they can do things on their own. And in the future, when we have self-sovereign ID, and it will be monetized and become of value, who do you trust to keep the details of your ID, and who will you give access to? And clearly, in a token economy, of which you've heard Libra coming into the forefront already of Facebook, then you're going to need wallets, you're going to need virtual currency exchanges, you're going to need different kinds of code so we can compete with the AI. Then that might be the future. So the minute you start defining the future as that, before you get to the idea of each customer doing their own thing, a company, an enterprise like ourselves, need to have a data governance structure. And it needs to start with having data. Any organization that has analog, digital, data on paper does not have access to data to be able to make it of visceral value to the customer, compelling and emotional engagement to the customer because it's so hyper-personalized. So that's the intermediate step, and this is the process that we're going through now, which is building a data governance infrastructure and being able to manage, and the foundation of it is digitization of that data in your business, even before we even talk about the IoT. So you can imagine all this data going into your data lake, some structured, some unstructured. How do you make sense of it? How do you deliver it to your customer in a safe, secure, customer-private way? So this becomes the key. Now, this is already happening today, right? So here in UnionBank, we have a developer platform where fintechs today, when they come to the bank, they already have a ready product connected to UnionBank. We have 139 external APIs that are open in our platform, and the fintechs just come and do their thing. It's just a short move for individuals to do this and make their own app with the bank. They don't need to get UnionBank online app, which is a generic app, you might say, even though it has won a lot of awards. And they'll do their own thing. And corporations will do the same thing. We also have a generic corporate app called the Portal. But again, as you go to each corporation, They want things differently. Right now, I need to do those adjustments, those modifications, those customization. But in the future, then the customer will do it themselves through an API platform. So I'm just going to show you a short video. I hope this works. Do I need to click it again? About this API platform working today. So it's not a dream.
We would go to...
Oh, just before this. We're going forward. We should go backward. Okay.
We would go to whatever bank it might be, and the typical response is, we have the API for that, but you'll have to go back and get and email it to you later, maybe sign an NDA first, or in other instances, the API wouldn't be available.
Definitely I would put UnionBank ahead of the pack in terms of their connectivity, in terms of their open banking platform, being able to connect with very, very robust APIs.
So having strong APIs, strong processes around those APIs, like quick settlement, quick reconciliation.
The API that allows me to see the exchange rates, the ability for me to make recurring payments without having to remember these things anymore.
But one thing that we found really helpful when it came to UnionBank was easy access to well-defined, very organized, easy to understand API documentation.
You just literally pointed us to a website and it was all there, and I was sitting with the team looking at it and I was like, wow, it's all here.
Not many banks within the Philippines or even abroad internationally today has the capability to be able to do that.
Of all of the banks that we worked with, UnionBank is the fastest. It's just a good overall experience working with UnionBank.
Yeah, so it's kind of an ad for UnionBank, but in truth, if you don't have an API platform today, go out and get one. And it's going to force all of us to be able to now redocument all our processes into APIs that can be consumed remotely by people that want to do business with us. And so this is now the beginning of that self-service, self-determination, hyper-personalization that will bring us to the holy grail of a market segment of one. Now, I probably can end my presentation here because I think that's already quite a lot to chew on, how to bring it from concept to reality. But since I still have So what does that imply for the organization? So we need to change who we are and why we do what we do. Important thing, aside from the culture, purpose, and values, which as I mentioned earlier is one of the reasons why companies is how you do things, how you think, right? What happened? Can we go back? So, this is, I think you can read faster than I can say, but the left side is what we learned. So we have a lot of cognitive biases when we do. We always pride ourselves on being rational, doing project studies, and making decisions based on a lot of data. But the reality is otherwise. We in the bank went through a Canavin map exercise, and we found out that most of our people no longer could make predictions. When they made decisions, the predicted outcome would not result. And this creates a bit of a disturbance in people when after being generals, after being SVPs, EVPs, CEOs, that all that experience does not provide the predictable outcomes as many times as it used to. And this is kind of the thinking that some of us will have difficulty embracing, but these are the learnings from some of the leaders in the disruptive space. The other thing is, second, culture first, strategy next. We need to have a moonshot. Most of us plan 10%, 15%, increase market share by this and that. That's not going to be good enough. We need to think 10 times, because when you think 10 times, then you will force to think transformation. You'll be forced to think digital. It's not going to happen. 10, 15% doing it the way you do it today, the mainstream way, will not produce breakthrough technology, will not produce radical solutions. And this is something that we embrace in the bank. It's not a goal that we intend to have a market share 10 times what it is today. It's how we think. How can you have products and services delivered to 10 times more your customer base, doing it the way you do today? I don't think so. So how else should we be doing it? How should we think about it? So part of it is we have our UBX, which is a part of our, oops, I don't know why this thing keeps moving. And it's our way of development. We have a blockchain institute there. We just launched yesterday our data science and artificial intelligence institute in the bank, because we're finding we need to create our own talents to become a technology company, also a bank. And so we've invested in a blockchain network of rural banks, an ecosystem. We've invested in a marketplace for SMEs called Centro, which allows collaboration of ERP systems. Like for $7 a month, you can have a whole ERP system as an SME. That's just 1 day's minimum wage. And we have Xlog, which is a logistics and supply chain platform. And the whole idea behind this is the concept that, aside from self-service and collaborative commons, is that banking will be invisible. You already have this experience when you deal with Amazon or Alibaba or Uber. You just do your stuff, and the payment and the credit just happens, right? In the future, that will be the same at scale, enterprise level. Lending, payments, insurance, cash management solutions will happen automatically within a platform. So that's part of our thing. We also need to transform spaces from physical spaces. So we have our ARC, which is a totally paperless branch with all processes on the cloud. We now have 30 or 40 of them. We're rolling them out. But the more important part is from physical space to virtual space. And I think from bilateral transactions to platform and ecosystem transactions. From dealing with customers on a face-to-face basis, where the customers now, through self-service, through access to development tools, through access to bank APIs, will be choosing how, when, where to deal with the bank. We also need to be digital at the core. We don't believe in these innovation labs and things like that. We think that that separates from the mainstream. And remember, my opening line from Steve Jobs is that the fringes is going to become the mainstream. The future is going to become the present, not the other way around. And so we decided in that model of being able to use data governance as a way of creating cognitive and contextual insight for our customers and improving the customer experience, for us to do the API platforms and allow customers to self-serve when they deal with us. All of this requires us to be digital at the core. So we got to manage across many technologies: cloud, robotic process automation, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and of course the holy grail will be AI with data and probably quantum computing. So throughout the bank, we're all applying all these technologies where we can't find people, as I mentioned, blockchain, AI, data science. We build our own institutes. And about a month ago, we graduated 78 blockchain developers who some work with us, others work in the market. And the most important is the organization needs to be agile, right? So we're working on this where we still have, in some instances, verticals, command and control. But when you're dealing with multidisciplinary skills that need to bring customers up to date, where you need to iterate your products and services every 2 weeks, you can't do it in a silo, vertical command and control basis. It's not going to happen, right? So we're doing this now. We're in the process. So we have those many groups that are working on, as you can see, on different kinds of products and service. They're all multidisciplinary, self-driven. They define their own KRAs, and they get their own method. Our own mobile app, which is 18 months old, has gone already through 59 updates, as an example. Some are major, some are minor. And as I mentioned, we have all these new jobs now in the bank that reflect our goal of being a technology company, not just a bank, or also a bank. As an example of that, our own HR department created their own HR app, even though we used to buy one from a very expensive vendor, not IBM, that every time we need to do an update takes forever. So we just are canning it, and we did our own. So it's part of that self-service mentality. If we expect it of our customers, we need to be able to do it ourselves for the services that we need. And we also engage our customers in transformation. And I just want to add with this, because this is a question everybody asks me, and it goes back to that value of Ubuntu, that collaboration, that community. When they ask me, oh, you guys are going to be wiped out by the fintechs and all this stuff, and I say, you know what? I don't think so. I think we're going to end up in a world of symbiotic convergence because we all have our respective strengths. We all have our own customer bases. We have the trust of our customers that we've earned. And at the end of the day, I think this is the world that we're going to be in. But for a mainstream bank to be able to converge symbiotically with a tech company or a fintech, we need to become a technology company also. Otherwise, we don't speak the same language. So this is kind of the summary in one page, and hopefully, although this is a truncated version, there might be some insights or values that you can take home with you today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Justo Ortiz. May we request you to please remain on stage as I go up. Thank you very much. And we now call back on the stage our President and CEO, Dante Klink Ang II, and our COO, Ms. Blanca Mercado of the Manila Times, to give a token of appreciation to Dr. Justo Ortiz. May we also call on stage Jane Wan, the Vice President of Business Development of Oppo Phone, because she will be awarding a special token for Dr. Justo Ortiz. So please come up on stage.
Oh, thank you.
Please stay in the middle, Dr. Justo Ortiz,
Thank you.
for the photo.
I hope it was useful.
Ito, momento lang sa replica
Of Moonshot.
Yeah, of your moonshot.
You want to?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, let's give another round of applause to our keynote speaker, Dr. Justo Ortiz. Okay, now let us start with the first track for today on digital reinvention in business. Our speaker this morning was named President and Country General Manager of IBM Philippines in July 2018, with the responsibility of growing and leading the company's operations, including sales and distribution, and also assuming control over fully owned subsidiaries, IBM Solutions Delivery, and IBM Business Services that offer global delivery services. As